Melo, Mr. Anthony,
Lala's husband,
Hall of Famer, perennial All-Star.
banana boat brother, but he smartly didn't get on.
He didn't get on the
That was
boat.
a vet move.
He didn't get on the boat.
That was a vet move.
Well, he's looking for a boat now. The latest is that his reps are exploring possible landing spots for Carmelo Anthony. Certainly seems like his days in Houston are over. Kevin Pelton, our colleague, wrote a column, and it said he was going to explore some potential landing spots for Carmelo, and really, it was just basically the 76ers. Jalen, a lot of questions. Before we get to what's going to happen next, what's happening now with Carmelo? What's he emotionally dealing with?
So this is always tough because usually as athletes, unlike most professions, can't do it forever clearly, but yet you're still very young and hope to live a long life after your career. He's in his 30s.
He's like 36, and people are telling him you can't do your job anymore. It's like,
Correct.
I'm 36.
Like, if you're an accountant or something, you could do these jobs forever.
Of course.
As long as you can wake up, breathe, and have your motor skills. So what ends up happening is as you get older, you don't get a chance to pick the ending. Only a couple of great players can do the Kobe Bryant, score 60 after the team just been in the lottery 5 years. Or do the Peyton Manning, we got a great defense, I'm managing the game, win the Super Bowl, and walk off into the sunset.
Or do the Barry Sanders, like, my team's not good enough, I'm a legend, I'm just going to get out of here.
Correct. Usually the game ends, usually the game decides when it's over.
Has the game decided it's over for Carmelo?
Carmelo is not done physically. He can still contribute to a box score. But what you have to do is adjust mentally and emotionally to reinventing yourself. And that's a humbling process.
Sure.
You have to take the guy in the mirror and say, wherever you used to be in Denver and or New York and or somewhat in OKC, you can't laugh and joke when people say about you coming off the bench anymore.
34, right? Which is not that old. You got Vince Carter in the league, 41. You know, Dirk in the league, 41. But there's not too many players left from his draft class. You got Dwayne Wade in the way out, and LeBron James is obviously just LeBron James. So what is he dealing with in Houston? Like, why did this go south? I really thought this was going to work out. I thought he was going to be on this team all year long into the playoffs.
It was a no-win situation as you
Was it, though?
look at it in hindsight. Here's why. Because they were going to be worse record-wise.
They
We're going to have the best record in the league.
last year.
They definitely were going to be worse defensively.
Yes.
And if he doesn't put up numbers and shoot efficiently in the games where, unfortunately, Chris Paul got suspended, anticipate that happening.
He had nothing to do with that.
James Harden got hurt.
Carmelo had nothing to do with that.
But he was in uniform. And so now when you go to play at OKC and you're 1 for 11 against your former squad, you're in the game, and then after the game, you're soul searching in your locker. You're like,
It's got to hurt.
is this how far I've fallen? That moment is when you slap yourself in the face like the Three Stooges and have to decide, am I going to be a player that's happy with any role that I'm given? Or have I had enough because he's a Hall of Famer? I think he still wants to play basketball.
Can this have a humbling effect on him, how it went wrong in Houston? And can he then look in the mirror, say he could sign with the Sixers or wherever? Can he then accept a lesser role and change his spot on the roster?
You look at any player that's played over 10 years. At some point late in their career, I always deem these the lost tape years. Every player has lost tape years. A lot of young fans don't realize Michael Jordan actually played for the Wizards.
Sure.
People aren't thinking about the fact the last couple of years, Dwayne Wade was in Chicago, Cleveland, then back in Miami. Like, it happens as you start to get older. Every player's not like Dirk that can play his entire career for one team. It just doesn't work that way. And so psychologically is where the change has to happen, number one. But number two, you're going to have other contending teams saying, if it didn't work in Houston and they have one goal, is it going to work with us?
Yeah. How's that going to translate?
It didn't work in OKC where they have great stars. How's it going to work with us?
Well, let's get to DeMar DeRozan's thoughts on being traded. Here's what he had to say about being traded from the Raptors to the Spurs. If you remember, he affected him a lot. He said, it just caught me off guard. I sat in Jack in the Box parking lot for like 2 hours just trying to process it all. Like, just trying to process the whole thing, and it just tripped me out. Jalen Rose, we could focus on how hard it is to get traded, but I want to focus on who sits in a Jack in the Box parking lot for 2 hours? Like, no, you're sitting in the Jack in the Box parking lot for 2 full hours? Just sitting there contemplating life? There is only one reason that you have to sit in the Jack in the Box parking lot for 2 hours. What is that, Mr. Rose?
The line was too long?
It's a failed test. That's all. No one's been in the Jack in the parking lot for 2 hours without some additional being involved. That's why he was tripping out in the Jack in the Box parking lot.